Hello, and welcome to another episode of Daily Music History.
I'm Abraham.
And I'm Wes, and today we are finishing up the story we started a little while back, because it's been a few weeks since we've been able to do this.
Yeah, because of other things,
Life happens.
Yeah.
And, today it's 70 and beautiful outside. 2 weeks ago it was...
bitter cold, so...
Yeah, we had wind chills of 40 below, so it's a bit different today. But anyway, I think we are back, finally. Ready to finish the story of February the 2nd and 3rd. And where did we leave off last time?
When Buddy bought the plane.
Well, you bought the plane ticket.
We bought the plane ticket.
Right. So who's getting on the plane?
Buddy, Ritchie, because he had that coin flip.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bopper.
That's right. And there was another one who ends up being forgotten a lot of the time, Roger Peterson, the pilot. He was also a very young man. He was 21 years old. So, Abraham, you wanted to talk about the crash itself?
So, he went to the plane, and they all got on it, and Peterson flew a few minutes, and tragedy struck.
Yes. But you're right. They were only in the air maybe 2 or 3 minutes, which is pretty... it gives you a pretty good idea. They were not... I don't think they'd even hit at flying altitude. When you read some of the stories about it, some of the people who live in the area said, they heard something that sounded like the airplane was directly over their houses. And I think they've shown... you could get on YouTube and look at reconstructions of the flight itself, and I think they may have gotten up to like 300 feet or something. I mean, it was very, very, very low. And so, do you remember the details of the actual crash? What happened?
Yeah. So, they're flying, and then so there's this thing. What's it called again?
The gyroscope.
The gyroscope.
Mm-hmm.
And it sees if the gyroscope's like this, the plane's going like this.
Right. It shows the tilt of your wings, basically.
Yeah. But Peterson was used to different gyroscopes.
Mm-hmm.
This one was the opposite. So if you were like that, in reality you were like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Or
As far as I understand it, yes.
You were going down.
Right.
And he thought he was going up, but in reality he was going straight down into the ground. The wing planted itself right into the ground, and they rolled a few miles, and
not quite a few miles, but
yeah,
the plane just tumbled over for about 500 or 600 feet, which is devastating. So yeah, the way the gyroscope worked, we think that Peterson thought he was flying up, increasing altitude and going to the left, and in reality he was going downward and to the right. And the right wing clipped the ground. Now the ground was frozen and had been deeply frozen. And there was a 4-inch deep gash where that wing clipped the ground.
So, in other words, it hit very hard.
It hit very hard. They were going about 175 miles an hour.
Downwards.
Yep, straight down and hit the frozen ground. And then once the wing hit, the plane just tumbled like this.
You see, it went like that, and
Yep. And so when it finally came to a stop at a fence in the property, and if you see pictures, the plane is just crumpled up like this. It's completely bent over backwards. Buddy, Ritchie, and the Bopper, all three got thrown out of the plane. Ritchie and Buddy, their bodies were about 10 feet away from the plane.
And Bopper's was
about 40 feet.
Away from
them. So Ritchie and Buddy were about 10 feet south. Buddy was southwest. Ritchie was southeast of the plane. And then the Bopper was about 40 feet northeast of the plane in what was actually the neighbor's property.
Now people have said that Bopper got up and walked away, but if he was in that crash, there's no way he was alive.
Yeah, and that was one of the conspiracy. There are several conspiracies about this flight, which I think people are just too bored and don't have too much time on their hands. But there was a speculation that the reason Bopper was 40 feet away from the plane was that he actually survived the crash, started crawling out or walking away from the crash, and then died 40 feet away. But they actually they had to exhume his body a few years ago.
Now, you people with light stomachs,
Yeah.
walk away.
Yeah, they actually they did need to move his body a few years ago, and so they exhumed him, and they had a coroner there, and they said he had over 200 broken bones, and they said there was absolutely no way. Number one, he never would have been able to survive the initial impact, and number two, even if he had, there was no possible way he would have crawled 40 feet. So he was thrown that far from the plane. So yeah, it was pretty devastating. Now Peterson was strapped in, and they found him actually still in the pilot's seat at the crash site itself. Now you can still go visit. You can actually go visit this crash site, and if you go there, be respectful. Number one, it's a place where 4 people died, but number two, it is private property, and the farmer allows people to walk there, and at any time that can be stopped. And it's a clear little path on the edge of his farmland, and you can go there, and people leave picks and flowers and stuff like that, which I think is nice.
And I've actually been there, and you know where you are when you see these.
Yeah.
A big, huge pair of black-rimmed glasses.
Yep. When you come up to it on the road, there's a big pair of black-rimmed glasses, and you park there, and you walk about 1/4 of a mile, and on this farmer's property, and that's where you can see it.
Oh yeah, and there was some sunflowers there once.
Mm-hmm.
One time I was there, and I picked them up and put them on.
Well, they're not sunflowers; they're dandelions.
Close though.
Close enough. Yellow flowers, right?
Yellow flowers. Yeah.
So I was wanting to talk a little bit today about Ritchie and the Bopper. I think, Buddy's history is fairly well known. I mean, he got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as part of the very first inducting ceremonies. But I think Ritchie and the Bopper are greatly overshadowed and overlooked. Ritchie Valens, like I said, he was 17 when he died. Now, his initial time his first time in the recording studio came May of 1958, which was 8 or 9 months before he actually died. But in that amount of time, he was able to record 2 albums. And one of the most shocking things to me when I first started looking at him is especially considering how popular music was done at the time, where frequently you were either a performer or a songwriter. And most of the time, performers were not writing most of their own songs. This was a new thing that came about with rockabilly music, more or less, where you had performers who largely were performing music that they had written. And Ritchie, on his first album, I forget the numbers now, but he wrote most of the songs. He had, I think, 14 songs. I can't remember now. I should have looked this up. But anyway, there were only 2 or 3 of them that he didn't write, and those are the weaker songs on the album. The ones that Ritchie wrote, in my estimation, are vastly superior to the cover songs that he did. His primary contribution these days to rock music is La Bamba, which was a Mexican folk song that he put to rockabilly music. And if you buy it, there's an album of his, a CD of his that has both of his albums on it, and then some demos that he had recorded right before he left on the tour. He had gone to his manager's home and recorded these demos to give his manager an idea of what it was he was going to be working on when he got back from the tour. And you start to see, I mean, if you play those demos, you can hear a bit more of that, where he's blending a bit more of folk music with rock and roll music. And you kind of get the impression he was definitely going to head down that direction, when he got back. But this is actually, to me, his songwriting ability is particularly shocking, because I listen to these songs and I don't think to myself that these are good for a 15 or 16-year-old songwriter. These are good songs whether you're 15 or 16 or not. And you got to remember, his birthday's in May. It's one day after mine. and he went into the studio for the first time right after he turned 17 years old.
Oh, yeah, it's May 13th.
Yeah, his birthday's May 13th. I think he went in the studio, I think the date was the 28th. So he had been 17 for a couple weeks and when he first went to the studio. So my point being, even at 17 years old, he didn't write all these songs at 17. He had to have been working on these when he was 15 or 16, and that just makes his contribution to me just that much more remarkable. And then you get to the Big Bopper, a guy who I think is considered a kind of a jokey songwriter, and he did write quite a bit of humorous songs. But to think that writing jokey songs means that you are a jokey songwriter, which is quite a different thing. They're very well constructed songs. This is an individual. He's the only person I can think of from the 1950s, the only one, who never recorded a cover song. And if for nothing else, he needs to be remembered for that. But he did something even greater. This is the guy who created the music video. And he was the very first person to take a song and put it on and mix it with recorded images, and to use both of those things as marketing, which is, to me, he's literally decades ahead of his time. And he should be remembered for that, if nothing else, for his contributions to music. He wrote and he only recorded songs that he had written, and he is the creator of the music video. And before we go, there is one more thing that I absolutely want to talk about, which is the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake.
And there is the place where they last played, and they redid it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little bit, and if you stand there, that's where Buddy stood.
So you're talking about the stage itself, right? Yeah. So you go in and before anything else, the Surf Ballroom is run absolutely magnificently. You go there, you have run of the place. You can go up on the stage. You could go into the green room where the performers get ready to go. They want you to do things like go up on the stage, walk around, take a look at the things. There are historical things all over the place, and it's absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom and dad and I went the first time I ever went, and I told my dad, I said, "You think we're allowed to get up on that stage?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "I don't care. I'm going up there anyway." And so we got up there, and one of the workers there came over and was talking to my dad, and he said, "Yeah, let me go." The green room door at that time was locked for whatever reason, so he went and unlocked the green room, turned the light on for us, and told us that, yeah, anywhere you want to go, have fun. But when you get up on the stage, as Abraham was saying, the stage now is a great big triangle, looks like a normal stage. But the worker there was telling us, if you back up a little bit, get towards what is now the back of the stage, you see a half moon shape. Now that half moon shape was the original stage. And so when Buddy and Ritchie and the Bopper performed there, they had that half moon stage. Because if you see pictures of it, they look very cramped, but you get up there today and the stage is huge. Well, you have to remember 80% of that stage wasn't there when they were performing. It was just a half moon. And so you go, you can stand there at the the top of the crescent of the half moon, and you say, well, the microphone was here, Buddy, Ritchie, and the Bopper would have been standing back here. And then it makes a little more sense when you see the pictures, and you can kind of put all the instruments in their place, where Waylon was over here, Tommy Alsop was here, Buddy was here, and whoever they happened to have drumming that night was in the back. Go to the green room. The worker there told us the sink is original and the door is original. That's the door where all the players loaded their equipment in. It's the door Buddy and Ritchie and the Bopper walked out of. They walked out, and one of the I think it was the owner of the Surf Ballroom. I think it was. He and his wife drove them to the airport that night. Yeah, all that stuff's original. I don't think the sinks work anymore, but
yeah. Of course. I mean, they're like 60 years old.
But so. It's pretty cool to go there and walk up those same exact steps that Buddy and Richie and the Bopper walked up, and to touch some of the things that they touched. And you could go. They got some of the booths. They said when they got to town, like half the guys went to eat somewhere, and then half of them ate there at the Surf Ballroom. They just sat in the booths and ate. It's an absolutely magnificent place. They've got instruments from a bunch of people. They got a surfboard signed by the Beach Boys. They got a piano signed by Duke Ellington. All kinds of things, and you can spend literally hours there just walking around. And make sure, if you can, bring some cash with you and contribute, because it's the contributions from the visitors that help keep the place open. And it's they're still putting on live music, and catch a show there, contribute money, spread the word about it. It's a great experience. And if you got kids, it's a great place to take them. And it's all around a fantastic place that you absolutely, if you're in this part of the country, which we've moved a little bit further from Clear Lake since we've gone, but for us it was I think a 4-hour trip, and it was absolutely well worth it. So I guess that's our recommendation. Anything else you'd like to add, Bear?
Well, do hit the like button and subscribe.
Yep, and listen to some Buddy Holly, Big Bopper, and Ritchie Valens. And we will catch you, hopefully not 3 or 4 weeks from now. Hopefully we can do another one before then. You ready?
Bye.
Bye.